demarcation in Africa, which often result in unified zones or undefined zones, I should say. The AUBP supports the delimitation and demarcation of boundaries and fosters cross-border initiatives and regional and continental integration across Africa. I've been joined in studio by Colonel Henry Badasu, the Director of Boundary Operation, and with him is Mr. John Chochovo, the Director of Research Boundary Operation, and we're talking about Borderless Ghana for Trade and Economic Integration. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
Good morning.
And how are we this morning?
We're doing great.
Doing very well. Great. What should this whole border day? We are sitting at somewhere here talking about border day. What is it? Colonel?
Yes. Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners. The African Border Day, as you rightly said, came about as a result of member states of the African continent realizing the need for some gaps in terms of effective management of common borders on the continent. And the fact that it has become evident that most of the areas where these borders are not properly managed have resulted in various conflicts and disputes that have become a headache for the continent at large. So in fostering all the measures necessary to prevent the recurrence of these conflicts or issues along the border, they took it upon themselves to institute the African Union Border Program, which is a platform to promote common understanding, cooperation, and then development along our shared borders.
I see. This is happening in Ghana under the auspices of the Ghana Boundary Commission. For those who are uninitiated, Mr. Chochovo, what would you say that the Boundary Commission does?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. The Ghana Boundary Commission is a state institution that has been set up through an Act of Parliament, Act 795, which mandates the Commission to determine, demarcate, and delimit Ghana's international boundaries, land and maritime boundaries, in line with acceptable standards, international law. And so that is our mandate as a commission. Of course, this translates into specific functions, one of which relates to physically demarcating or in our case, reaffirming the boundaries, the international boundaries of Ghana. And we do that jointly, and the key word there is jointly, with our neighboring countries. We also provide specific advice when it comes to issues around boundary or boundary governance and all that, and also take the lead in negotiating or resolving issues around lack of clarity relating to our boundaries.
Great. Colonel, what would you say have been some of the key milestones over the years since the Boundary Commission decided to set its attention on such issues that Mr. Chochovo has spoken about?
Well, we said we've made a significant inroads into the landscape of boundary management in Ghana. I'll say this because the Act, as was rightly said by John, that the Boundary Commissions Act was passed in 2010, and for a very long time, there have been inactivity, I would say, for lack of a better word, until 2021, when the commission was reinstated. I mean, this current commission, and I can confidently say from 2021 all the way down, we've achieved great feats in terms of boundary.
For example?
Yes. I can say for now, let me start on the international scene. I can say we've been able to establish very strong collaboration among all the neighboring countries. We have established standing joint boundary commissions with all our neighbors as we speak currently. We have also been able, as we speak, to facilitate the projects along our common borders. We'll be able to get the communities to buy into our activities, and for that matter, serve as an eye or a voice to the voiceless or marginalized border communities who hitherto were not seen on the national scene. So by engaging them directly on the ground, they come out with their needs, and as part of the job we do on the ground, we do what we call human security interventions or needs assessment or research on the ground. So some of the areas who were badly affected, let me cite the issue of our Dollar Power area. It's an area which was virtually cut off from the mainland Ghana by the Black Volta, and it was evident that no activity was going on there until we were able to go there. And as we speak now, we'll be able to facilitate the construction of 58 kilometers route. The road is currently, I would say, 70% complete. It's still ongoing though. Similarly, in the Boku West district, we, as part of our activities, we were able to go on the ground, and in that location as well, we realized they needed roads, access routes, and then as much as possible, boundary patrol routes. Why? Because the border was not clear in that location, and foreigners from the neighboring countries invade those areas to come and dig for illegal good.
John, let me bring you in. Peace, stability, and economic development. You drive research, at the commission. How would you say this commemoration of Africa Boundary Day, impacts of these three very important standpoints on the African continent, and particularly for us as Ghanaians?
Yeah, thank you very much again. So the African Border Day, as Colonel Badasu mentioned, it's a day that was instituted by the African Union, of course, members of the African Union, to emphasize the need for peace along our boundaries. Also emphasizing the fact that we should eschew all forms of conflicts along our boundaries. Now, the African Border Day typically is commemorated jointly with the neighboring country. And in doing so, we bring together communities along the boundaries, okay, and engage in joint activities. So we're talking about sporting activities. We're talking about joint tree planting. I think about 2 years ago, we did joint tree planting with on the Elubo side of the boundary. And we brought in communities from Cote d'Ivoire along the boundary and Ghana. We engaged in joint health screening activities, building water systems jointly. And so these activities, as I mentioned, bring people across the boundaries together. Now, in bringing them together, you are fostering friendship. You are fostering good neighborliness. You are fostering, unity. And these are things that speak directly
I'm interested
to peace
in women.
Yes.
What role would you say women have played in this, or what role are we assigned to our women to play in this, in all of this?
Yeah, women are very key. You will agree with me that women are very key, even in our homes. And so in the community, you realize that women take part in trading activities and so many activities, okay? And so their activities are very key when it comes to peace and security along the boundaries. And they have counterparts on the other side that they could speak to and calm them when issues about peace, come up. Yeah. So they are very key.
Let me bring you in. So the ordinary Ghanaian sometimes wants to participate in these things, but they think that there is preserve of Colonel and his uniformed people. This one are getting to the border, and that place is for excellently uniformed people and people who are well trained. How does the ordinary citizen participate in all of this? We're celebrating today, but towards the things that you have said, Mr. Chichova has said, how do you get the ordinary Ghanaian to participate? What role can they play?
Okay. So I'll start by saying the objective of the African Union Border Program is as much as possible to promote cooperation and peaceful coexistence among the citizenry. It is evident on the continent that there have been a lot of conflicts along the boundaries in most of the areas, citing Somalia, Mali, and then Ethiopia, South Sudan, and the rest. These are conflicts which affect children and women mostly. That's the evidence on the ground. The children and women are the most affected in our communities.
That's right.
Okay. Now, to be able to address this issue, we take it upon ourselves to engage the youth groups, the women in the various communities as part of our activities to what we call joint community sensitization. In this case, we do invite communities on the other side of the boundary. For instance, Côte d'Ivoire, all the communities, the traditional authorities, the political heads were all invited to the Western region, Newtown, where there was a sensitization, general one, by the political heads, regional minister, and all the stakeholders were in.
What about the youth, Keno?
Yes.
Because if you want to foment trouble, they are the ones, I mean, all the volatility we're seeing, unrest we're seeing in the sub-region, if you look at it critically, you have the youth at the center.
Exactly. So it has been.
What about them?
It has been one of the focus, as I said. What we do is, in the community, we have come to accept the fact that the future is for the youth or the young ones. So as part of our programs, we invite the school children, we invite the youth groups in the community, and then we engage them and educate them on their responsibilities and roles towards management of the international boundary, the privileges they stand to get as citizens along the border, and then the do's and don'ts of what they are supposed to be doing along the border. Exactly.
I see. Mr. Chichova, so there's somebody who sent a comment on our Facebook page. He says it's Jiro Majid. He says, my first question is to ask them how those beggars on the streets enter Ghana. Those you see them Nigerians, Chad, man of they usually would be at the traffic intersections. Yes, we are protecting the borders. Yes, we are trying to integrate. Yes, we are trying to foster peace, stability. But how do they get in to become a nuisance unto us and to be tormenting us on our roads?
Yes. So let me remind you of our mandate. Our mandate is very clear. It's our mandate speaks to determining, demarcating, and delimiting the boundaries of Ghana, both land and maritime. Ours is to demarcate, and so
how they got in is not within your space.
Yeah, ours is to ensure that that is effectively done, and so it will be a bit difficult
for you to answer this.
Exactly.
This not within your jurisdiction.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Keno, now technology has evolved.
Yes.
How are you as a commission using technology, and new technological tools to, for example, do your work?
Very well. I would say the Boundary Commission, as we speak currently, is one of the up-to-date institutions who has incorporated all the available technologies into its activities on the ground.
Okay.
It is evident that in the past, the technology used in demarcating all these boundaries were very old GPS and then the cables and chains which were used in the past. Currently, for sake of clarity and then precision, we are employing the global positioning systems and then the global navigational satellite systems. We are incorporating satellite imagery, and then as we speak now, we've added another layer to it by incorporating drones. So we can pride ourselves in the fact that currently we have the best drones equipped with LiDAR technology.
I see.
For all our mapping, both for surveillance and then mapping, and then maritime inspections in the country. So we incorporate all this into the activities we undertake on the ground.
I see.
Yes.
Mr. Chichova, let me ask you, challenges. So far, you have spoken nicely. It's as if you don't have problems, but I'm sure you have a few challenges.
Yes.
What are these challenges?
Well, one of the key challenges, and of course, speaking from the research point of view,
Right.
first of all, it's the challenge we have in assessing what we call legacy documents. Now, legacy documents are basically archival information
Right.
that speak to our boundaries. Let me remind you that our boundaries were set up by the colonial masters.
That's right.
And this goes way back into the early 1900s and, of course, late 1800s. These were documented.
Okay.
And now we go looking for these documents that I mentioned are called legacy documents. Some of them we get, they are brittle, some of them are torn. And so there is a difficulty in getting these documents that help us to reaffirm the boundary. So that's one of the key challenges that we have. But thankfully, we've had a number of organizations, particularly the Public Records and Archives Administration, that have been very helpful in helping us to get some of these documents. Other organizations as well that have also helped us in securing some of these.
Is that the only challenge
Now,
you
the
have?
other challenge also has to do, and I'm sure Kanabadasu will speak a lot to that, speaks to our field work.
Right.
Now, the terrain can be a bit challenging, where we would have to climb very high mountains to go and do work along the boundaries. Now, some of these areas are also inaccessible, and that is why we rely on a number of our partners, particularly the Ghana Armed Forces, and of course the Ghana Air Force, that help us in lifting us to some of these locations that are not accessible,
What's the challenge there? The challenge is because the mountains are too high, so you have to depend on them.
Well, no, the challenge here is that some of the areas are not accessible by road.
Okay.
And so you can get there only through they lifting you and dropping you.
And you would
off
wish that there were roads there so that it helps. Great. Keno, you want to add anything to the challenges?
So, with respect to the challenges, talked about terrain and then vegetation as one of the biggest challenges you have on the ground. Related to this is the fact that we are incorporating modern technology. In terms of technology, as rightly said, we have so many dead zones. Dead zones, I mean, where telecom connectivity is not available. And the work requires real-time kinematic data collection and then archiving. So it's one of the biggest challenges we have. So we have to resort to maybe static mode or the processing mode to be able to bring the data down and then process. And it has its own challenges. The other issue has to do with the communities themselves. They have this strong belief that our work will, at the end of the day, lead to they ceding their lands.
To
it is obvious.
Country.
Yes, it's obvious on the ground that the traditional stool lands and the individual lands straddle the boundary.
That's right.
Where most of the larger part of people's land fall into the other country.
That's right.
We've constantly educated them on the fact that these are issues that are international in nature. We are there to just make sure we secure the statehood of Ghana, because the boundaries determine the extent to which our security forces or the governors of the country can go up
territorial integrity.
Exactly. So we keep educating them on the ground and then make them aware that your land falling into the other country, the rules and regulations of that territory that governs your land.
I see.
Yes.
Are we in the schools, John? Quickly, in 30 seconds. Are we in the schools telling the children about these things? Because if we wait too long, the children will not get the knowledge. By the time they come out, somebody has a grandfather who has a kingdom, and now the kingdom, you people go, you do GPS, you do demarcation, delimitation, blah, 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 you cut some, and say, oh, Togo take, Ivory Coast take. They will not be happy with you. So they need to be educated from the very onset. Are you in the schools?
We are. Now, when we do our sensitization programs along the boundaries, it is always a requirement to invite school children. So we invite primary school children, we invite secondary school children, we invite JHS to be part of the sensitization. So when you follow our sensitizations very closely, these are groups of people that we do not leave out in our sensitization programs. Yeah.
What's happening today, yesterday, today, maybe over the weekend in respect of the African Border Day? Are we having an in-person or Zoom or online, whatever it is, program?
Yes. As part of the program, we had a number of activities, and one is what we are currently doing, the media engagement. We also have this partnership or agreement with the various districts and then the municipalities along the border in terms of being part of the Green Ghana project that is currently ongoing. So as we speak now, our partners on the ground, be it assemblies and the rest, are also engaged in greening along the international boundary, because we told them it is one of the ways to preserve and protect our boundaries as much as possible. So the education is currently ongoing. And I can also add that as part of the efforts we are doing, we are currently constructing new international boundary pillars. As the old ones are almost about 100 years old and virtually defaced, removed or destroyed as a result of human activities or through weather and other challenges.
Great. Quickly, is this a theme for this year's celebration, John?
Yes, there is a theme for this year's celebration, and it's actually, within the context of the broader theme of the African Union, which is educating an African fit for the 21st century, building resilient education systems for increased access to inclusive, lifelong quality and relevant learning in Africa. It's a long one.
I see.
The basic thing is that it's education. I mean, the need for education, particularly within the context of boundary governance, and also ensuring that systems of education, in the boundary areas are solid, because the boundary areas are gateways, for entry and exits into our country. Yeah.
Thank you, John Chochovo and Ken Obadasu of the Boundary Commission of Ghana. We're grateful for your time this morning, and we wish you all the best. And regards to General Kutia, Major General Kutia, called and says, Johnny, we have to be on the show.
Thank you, John.
Johnny, we have to be on the show. Well, thank you for coming. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
We will cross now into Baby Fair and Ghana's most beautiful, and also we have something special on the Bagri Dam and the spillage thereof. We'll tell you about it. Stay with us here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.